My name is Charlie Monroe. I've known I was transgender since I was 12 years old, and I've been out as transgender since just before I turned 13. Since coming out, I've had a lot of people notice that I look different, obviously, and that I'm acting different. And I've had a lot of people ask me how being trans affects me, affects my daily life, my experiences, my relationships. And I think this video will be a good way of answering those questions. What was it like for you when I first came out?
When it first came out, I remember at the time, I was kind of I still can't swear on this, correct?
Nope.
Okay. When you first came out, it was, I would say the biggest thing for me was it was really hard to get your name and correct pronouns down. Not dead naming you and all that.
That was a few years ago. You'd come out as non-binary a year or so before that. And I guess it wasn't entirely surprising, but it was a little confusing.
I think initially I was worried about the way, just kind of for your safety and about the way the world would treat you.
It's just a big transition period for all of us, of course. And while obviously it's something you'd been thinking about for a while, all of us kind of had to catch up to where you were.
Did you have trouble adjusting to my new name or pronouns or identity?
Well then, I guess it was more just resetting habits. Yesterday I accidentally called you by your dead name, which you probably didn't even hear. I was like, Charlie, come here.
That took a lot of practice. And that was for someone who sees you every day. I know for some of our family members, it's still somewhat difficult. But, yeah.
I think initially, sure, more because I had always called you by a certain name and certain pronouns. So I don't think it was intentional, but there would be times where, I would say something and the old name would come out or the old pronouns would come out.
But it was hard at first, just remembering that, you were using a new name. And the pronouns, I don't think, took too long to get used to. It was more, somebody who I'd been talking to every day with a certain name, before you were born. I had to just break out of that habit.
But I don't think it was like a difficulty. It was more, I had done something for 13 plus years, even prior to the time you were born. So changing that was a little bit of force of habit to change.
Do you think you would have reacted differently had I come out during a different period of my life?
Yes. Because in the instance of young, I was a real big Trumpy at the time. Because I was stupid and in middle school. And people in middle school are stupid. And I would have definitely reacted a lot worse. I'm sorry for that thing that never happened, but could have.
I think I probably would have reacted differently. Not necessarily. I think I probably would have reacted differently had you been younger. Not that you wouldn't have known your mind or understood what you were going through, but I think I would have been probably more concerned and more trying to get in depth with what you were feeling. Not that I didn't anyway, but just making sure that you could verbalize it and that you would be able to express yourself. I think if you were much younger.
Oh, probably, but it's hard to say exactly. You didn't, and so we didn't. I don't know. I honestly don't know.
If you came out later, I can't speak exactly, because I'm not sure what kind of person I would have become at that point in time. I think I still would have kind of sexuality probably a little bit later. But I think the reaction would have been a bit better and more supportive. Because at that point, I would have been kind of coming to terms with myself in those respects, and I would wanted to help you out more than I did when you originally came out.
Yeah.
I had to, as we just discussed, I had to kind of come to terms with myself and then help you out,
Right.
such and such.
I don't know that I would have handled it differently if you were older than you are now or the same age as you are now.
How do you think having a queer child or sibling has changed your views on the queer community as a whole?
It's made me feel more protective of the queer community. I've always known queer people. I've had transgender friends in the past, but they were transgender friends, and to me, I consider my friends my family. But having a trans child has made me more intimately involved in understanding what's going on in the queer community, and feeling much more protective of it.
I don't think my actual views have changed, but I think my actions have changed a little bit.
I also had to come to terms with my own incorrect beliefs at the time of trans people in the queer community, which I think you definitely played a part in like helping me kind of see the light, so to speak, the gay light.
And then you went directly into the sun.
You're goddamn right, I did.
What differences in me have you noticed now that I'm out?
I feel like you've been much happier. You've been much more outgoing with your friends. You've been really stepping out of your shell a little bit, trying things I think you wouldn't necessarily have wanted to try before.
I thought that was an interesting thought because I think as a small child, you tended to be, I don't want to say fairly outgoing, you were fairly quiet, but you were really open to different possibilities. And then I think there was a time period, and again, that could be a natural just curve of how things work, where you were less open to new things.
From what I've seen, I know there's that cliche of you see like a trans person and it's the before and the after pictures, and the before pictures
like
they're
black and
depressed
white,
as
like it's the
frick,
Great Depression.
and the after it's like they're actually a happy, I want to swear but I can't, happy person.
Yeah, and that's been neat to see. You've been making a lot more friends. You've been exploring more of your creative side, which has been really neat.
I think now I see you as being more comfortable with yourself, and even if something feels a little uncomfortable, you're willing to kind of maybe bridge over that a little bit and push yourself a little bit more. And I feel like that part of that confidence, it hasn't changed your personality, but it's made you kind of go back to that point where you have that ability to say, yeah, this feels uncomfortable, I'm gonna try it anyway.
You're definitely a lot happier